It started as a normal weekend in a small Idaho college town, the kind of place where doors rarely locked and friends came and went as they pleased. But by sunrise, that house would become the scene of one of the most horrifying crimes the country has ever seen. And nearly 3 years later, the case continues to reveal new layers, with freshly released evidence and documents revealing what happened behind the scenes. This is part 1 of our 5-part deep dive into the Idaho student murders. And tonight, we go back to where it all began, to the house at 1122 King Road. Let's get into it.
Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogen, and Kaylee Goncalves were stabbed to death in their shared home. Police have not made an arrest nor found the murder weapon.
Police say 2 other roommates were also home at the time of the murders but survived uninjured and are cooperating. And with the suspect still at large, a mother's plea to her daughter's killer.
Stop all this. Let us mourn our children, and we can't when we know this person is out there.
Hi, I'm Katie Ring, and this is Crime House Daily, your weekday true crime companion. We follow the cases making headlines now, where justice is still unfolding. This is a Night Watch episode bringing you today's biggest crime stories. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Crime House Daily so you never miss an episode. This episode discusses active criminal cases and breaking news. The information we share is based on what's publicly available at the time of recording and may change as new evidence comes to light. We aim to inform, not to decide guilt or innocence. So everyone mentioned is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Tonight's case is the start of a 5-part series on a crime that's been all over the news for years now, and for good reason. It involves a group of friends living their best lives at the University of Idaho until a masked stranger enters their home one night and unleashes unspeakable horror. We've covered the Idaho student murders before, but authorities have continued to release information about their investigation and the killer who left a trail of breadcrumbs right to his own front door. Over the next 5 episodes, we're diving deep into the Idaho student murders and Bryan Kohberger. So let's go back to the beginning, to Moscow, Idaho, a town of about 25,000 people in the north-central region of the state. It's the fall of 2022. The 6 students at the center of this case all have ties to a house at 1122 King Road, located in U of I's party neighborhood. Most of the students are involved in Greek life, and these friends love to have a good time. But one night in November, everything changes. 1122 King Road goes from home away from home to hell on earth. To understand how this story unfolds, I'll help you get to know the group of friends who live at the house, or at least spent a lot of time there, starting with Kaylee Goncalves and Maddie Mogen. Kaylee and Madison, who goes by Maddie, are seniors. They're both 21 years old and have been best friends since they were in 6th grade. They grew up in the area of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, about 85 miles from Moscow. From pretty much the moment they met, they were attached at the hip. So no one was surprised when they applied to all the same colleges and eventually went to the same one, and even lived together for a while. But as much as they have in common, Kaylee and Maddie are forging their own paths. Kaylee majors in general studies and is a member of the Alpha Phi sorority. She's expected to graduate early in December of 2022, which means this is her last semester at U of I. After graduation, she's planning a trip to Europe before moving to Texas, where she's already got a job in IT lined up. Meanwhile, Maddie is a marketing major and a member of the Pi Theta Phi sorority. She works part-time as a server at a restaurant called the Mad Greek in downtown Moscow. She's on the dean's list, and when she graduates in the spring, she's planning to move to Boise. In anticipation of graduation, Kaylee had started to move out. She would spend a lot of time at her parents', but she still had some stuff in her room and would come back to spend time with Maddie and their other roommates before she officially graduated. She also got a new Range Rover that she wanted to show all of her besties, including another housemate, 20-year-old Xana Kernodle. Xana is a junior, and like Maddie, she's a marketing major, a member of Pi Beta Phi, and she works at the Mad Greek too. Xana was raised by her aunt and uncle, and things were apparently pretty tough for her. But she never lets her past keep her down. Xana has plans to launch a marketing company with her sister when she graduates, and everyone knows her as someone with a positive outlook on life. Friends say she lights up any room, which is a trait she shares with her boyfriend, 20-year-old Ethan Chapin. Ethan's also an athlete, majoring in sports management, and a member of the Sigma Chi fraternity. He's the firstborn in a set of triplets, a brother and a sister, who all go to U of I. Ethan and Xana were good friends before they started dating, and it was one of those cute scenarios where everyone knew they liked each other even before they did. But once they finally got together, they were basically inseparable. The two other housemates are Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funke. They're both 19 years old, and Bethany's in the Pi Beta Phi sorority with Xana and Maddie. So quick recap, in the Kings Road house, we've got Kaylee and Maddie, who are childhood best friends, Xana and Ethan, who are dating, and Dylan and Bethany, who are both a little younger than the others. Overall, they're a typical group of fun-loving college students, and their King Road house is sort of like a home base for the entire friend group. Most of their other friends live nearby, so their house is also a central hangout spot. Over the years, they've all become like family. The housemates even leave their front door unlocked so friends can come and go as they please. It's the quintessential college experience. But in October of 2022, the dream starts to feel more like a nightmare. It all starts one day when Kaylee's over at the King Road house. She's got her dog Murphy with her, who she shares with her ex-boyfriend. At some point, Kaylee takes Murphy for a walk, and while they're outside, she notices a man looking in her direction. It seems like he's staring right at her, never breaking his gaze. Kaylee does her best to ignore it, but when she gets back to the house, she tells Dylan about it. They're both a little freaked out, but they don't do anything about it. However, over the next week or so, Kaylee still has a weird feeling that someone's watching her, and soon she can't keep ignoring it. Because while she's at the grocery store one day, she notices a man following her around, watching her and trailing her through the aisles. When Kaylee checks out and leaves the store, she thinks he's gone. But when she walks outside, he's standing near her car. Thankfully, Kaylee's able to safely get into her car and leave. And later, she tells her friends what happened. It puts everyone on edge a little, but still, they don't want to panic. Until another week goes by, and they see the first real sign of danger. For a few weeks, Kaylee Goncalves has been feeling like someone is watching her, following her. She's noticed a man spying on her a few times. Her friends know all about it, and soon they get a taste of the fear Kaylee's been living in. It happens one day when the housemates at 1122 King Road return home from a Starbucks run to find their front door wide open. It spooks them, but they convince themselves nothing is wrong. The door has been broken for a while and it pops open sometimes, especially when it's windy. There's a full-on snowstorm, so maybe that's all it was. Still, considering the weird stuff Kaylee's experienced lately, they're a little spooked. So they each grab one of Ethan Chapin's golf clubs before they go inside. At first, they don't see anything amiss, but then they realize the washing machine is running, even though none of them turned it on before they left. Now they're really freaked out, and they become even more frightened when neighbors tell them that while they were out, there was a strange man lurking around their house. They're understandably shaken up by this, so Xana calls her dad, who comes over to tighten the hinges on the front door. This seems to put the friends at ease, and another week or two goes by without anything weird happening. During that time, the housemates celebrate U of I's Parents' Weekend. Ethan's parents come, and the entire time, all they can think about is how proud they are of him and his siblings. In his parents' eyes, Ethan is blossoming into a truly happy, independent young man. Nothing about their visit gives them any reason to think he's in danger, and when Parents' Weekend wraps, Ethan and the other housemates feel like everything is back to normal. On the night of Saturday, November 12th, 2022, the housemates have different plans, but they all get ready at the house together before splitting off. Kaylee Goncalves and Maddie Mogen head to a local bar called the Corner Club. Xana and Ethan go to a party at Sigma Chi. Dylan and Bethany also head out to a party. By the early morning hours of November 13th, all 6 of them are back at home. The layout of the house is crucial, so let me break it down for you. There are 6 bedrooms in total. The ground floor is at parking level, and it's where Bethany's room is. There's also another room there, but it is currently vacant. The second floor is where the main entrance is, plus a sliding door that leads into the kitchen. And that's where Dylan and Xana's rooms are. Finally, Maddie's room is on the 3rd floor along with Kaylee's. Sometime around 4 a.m., Ethan's asleep, and Xana is on her phone ordering DoorDash and scrolling through TikTok. Kaylee decided to snuggle up with Maddie in Maddie's room, and they called her ex-boyfriend a few times, but sources indicate that he doesn't pick up. Other than that, Dylan and Bethany are each in their separate rooms, presumably fast asleep. At some point, Dylan is woken up by a strange noise from upstairs. Then she hears someone scream. It sounds like Kaylee. Then she hears Kaylee yell something like, "Someone's here." Dylan gets out of bed and opens her door, but she doesn't see anything. So she goes back to bed, but she keeps listening. Soon, she hears crying coming from Xana's room, which is on the same floor as hers. After a moment, Dylan hears an unfamiliar male voice say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Dylan thinks maybe one of Ethan's fraternity brothers is playing a prank on him. To try and figure out what's going on, she calls Xana around 4:20 a.m., but she doesn't pick up. Then she calls Kaylee, who doesn't pick up either. Dylan doesn't hear anything else for a few minutes, so she gets back out of bed and peeks out her door again. That's when she sees a man, about 6 feet tall, dressed in all black, walk right past her. He's wearing a black ski mask that covers everything but his eyes. So Dylan can see the man's thick, bushy eyebrows, and she doesn't recognize him at all. Even stranger, he's holding something that looks like a handheld vacuum cleaner. It's too dark for her to see exactly what it is, but he carries it with him as he walks into the kitchen and out the sliding glass door. Once he's gone, Dylan feels paralyzed. She tends to be easily startled. Friends sometimes poke fun at her for her tendency to call them at odd hours when a random noise freaks her out, and it always turns out to be nothing. But this is different. A strange man was literally just in their house, so Dylan calls Bethany, who is in her room downstairs on the 1st level, and tells her what happened. She and Dylan keep texting for a few minutes, and Dylan describes the man she saw. Eventually, Bethany tells Dylan to run down to her room so neither of them are alone. Dylan agrees, and when she steps out of her room, she looks down the hallway towards Xana's room. She sees Xana lying on the floor and thinks she's probably passed out after a night of drinking. Dylan's still really freaked out. Something in her gut tells her not to go into Xana's room, so she rushes downstairs. Once she's in Bethany's room, the 2 of them keep trying to call other housemates from Bethany's phone. Again, there's no answer. And the next day, their lives are completely shattered. On Sunday, November 13th, Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funke wake up around 11 a.m., and they're still both scared. Neither of them can fully explain it, but something just feels off. They figure their roommates must be awake by now, so they text everyone, but still, they get no responses. They even send messages and check their locations on Snapchat, but no one opens their messages. Dylan and Bethany really want to make sure everyone's okay, so they take a deep breath and head upstairs. Once they're on the 2nd floor, Dylan notices that Xana's bedroom door is still open, and she's lying in the same position she was in earlier. Dylan still thinks that Xana is passed out from drinking, but between the fact that Xana hasn't moved and the fact that she hasn't seen or spoken to anyone else, Dylan's got a really bad feeling. She and Bethany rush out of the house and call their friends, Hunter, Emily, and Josie, who live nearby. These are the friends Dylan usually calls when she's freaked out over a small noise. So when she asks them to come over, they figure it's just one of those situations. But when Hunter and Emily walk up to 1122 King Road and see Dylan and Bethany standing outside, they can tell this is more serious. Both of the girls are quiet with their hands over their mouths, like they're processing something really disturbing. Finally, Dylan tells him everything that happened the night before. At this point, she's starting to wonder if it was just all a bad dream. Hunter reassures her that they'll get to the bottom of things. Then he walks into the house, and moments later, Emily and Josie follow him in, while Dylan and Bethany remain outside. Almost as soon as Emily and Josie step through that front door, Hunter returns from the bedroom hallway and stops him. His voice and expression are calm as he gently but firmly ushers them back outside. All the girls are confused because Hunter doesn't say much. He just tells them to call 911 and say there's a, quote, unconscious person inside the house. Dylan calls and begins speaking with the dispatcher, but she's frantic and can't seem to clearly explain what's happening. So Josie takes the phone and gives the information that Hunter provided. But as the dispatcher asks for more details, all Hunter does is shake his head and say, quote, there's no pulse. What the girls don't know is that when Hunter went into the house alone, he caught the first glimpse of the true horror that occurred the night before. When he entered Xana's room, Hunter found both her and Ethan Chapin lying unconscious. He checked their pulses and neither of them had one. Not only that, they were both cold to the touch. In that moment, Hunter knew his friends were dead. But that was just the beginning, because Xana's room was covered in blood. Hunter has no idea what to make of what he saw. All he can do now is try and spare his other friends the trauma of knowing what's waiting for first responders inside the King Road house. And Moscow police officers are there before he knows it. Josie and Dylan are still talking to the 911 dispatcher when they get there. One of those officers is 22-year-old Officer Mitch Nunez. He asks Hunter where the person who needs help is. Hunter leads Officer Nunez into the house and down the bedroom hallway. He points him towards Xana's room. Nunez is expecting to administer CPR, but when he enters the room, he's horrified. He can tell that Xana had been stabbed repeatedly, and so had Ethan. Ethan is on Xana's bed, partially covered by a blanket, which makes Nunez think he was attacked while he was asleep. Nunez had only been on the force about a year and had never seen anything like this. He clearly needs backup. So he radios for all available detectives to respond to 1122 King Road immediately. As more officers arrive, the friends waiting outside begin to realize the severity of the situation. They see medics rush into the house, only to be stopped by investigators at the doorway. Now the group outside knows that things are worse than they imagined. As the police rush around, no one stops to tell them anything. But they overhear what officers are saying. Soon the friends piece together the heartbreaking reality. Xana and Ethan are dead. They've barely processed the news when officers start rolling out crime scene tape. Now they're heartbroken and confused. And there's one question no one will give them the answer to. Where are Kaylee and Maddie? What did you think of episode 1 of our 5-part Idaho Murders Night Watch series? Drop your thoughts and theories in the comments and stay tuned for part 2. See you next time. If you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Crimehouse Daily and follow us on social media at Crimehouse247 for real-time updates, because the pursuit of justice never stops.